It is now time for our main event. Two career paths that were always thought to be ascending towards big opportunities. Now they cross, each man hoping that a win will create some much-needed momentum. Veteran contenders Demetrius Hopkins and Mighty Mike Arnautis. They face off here on Friday Night Fights in Ontario, California. Well, there's only been one Greek to ever hold a world title, and Mighty Mike has long talked about adding to that list and claiming a championship. Arnautis now 30 years old. He came in at 5'10", 146. A look at the bioblast on Arnautis. He came to the United States from his native Greece in 2000, was a popular attraction in his adopted hometown of Atlantic City. He's been in with top competition, fought to a draw with eventual titleist Juan Urango, lost a split decision for the WBO belt to Ricardo Torres, went 12 with Kendall Holt. Has had a habit of changing trainers. Now he's reunited with Bill Johnson, and he noted that he's never lost a fight when he's with Bill Johnson. This is his second fight at 147 pounds. He's lost 2 straight. Let's show you his last bout. It was on Friday Night Fights on April 2nd, taking on the contender Delvin Rodriguez. And Rodriguez seemed to control most of the action that night. It was a hard-fought fight. Arnautis suffered a cut over his left eye in the 11th round. He went on to drop the decision. And there is Philly's Demetrius Hopkins, always a very likable, engaging guy to be with. He came in right at the welter limit of 147, has a slight height advantage, a record of 29-1-1, 11 knockouts for Hopkins. And the bioblast on Demetrius, well, he's always had to carry the connection to an all-time great. His uncle Bernard got him started in the fight game long ago and acknowledges that their relationship at times has been strained in recent years, but he appreciates Bernard and understands what the Hopkins name is all about. Demetrius has always been a well-regarded prospect, opened eyes, scored a scary knockout on Friday Night Fights back in '06. He floored Michael Warwick. But as things moved along, the career moved along, he moved up to a more comfortable weight of 147 pounds. He's coming off a March win. It was his first fight in 16 months. Prior to that fight, he had his career stumble in 2008. He would suffer his first loss. Going after the WBO 140-pound belt, split decision loss to Kendall Holt. A fight he really has some regrets about. Aware that his cautious style has been criticized at times, tonight he wants to move forward, committed to changing that style. Hear how he sees Arnautis.
You know, trying to be slick, you know, he tries to box. Not a bad fighter, but I'm the better fighter. I'm a tall guy. I'm 5'11", so you know, use my range and use my jab. The jab is the key of setting combinations up.
We will see what Demetrius Hopkins can do in terms of changing styles and getting after Arnautis a little more here tonight. Our Friday Night Fights, starting off what is a great World Cup weekend as the World Cup moves into its final stages, and Teddy takes to the pitch at the Big League Dream Sports Park in Chino Hills for tonight's fight plan.
All eyes will be on Germany-Argentina Saturday, with the United States having been eliminated from World Cup contention. Both our fighters tonight are going to be looking to fight for world titles. One's going to be eliminated from contention. Let's find out which one. Now, both of them are a little bit like soccer teams. Not a lot of scoring. Very defensive-minded, good goaltending. Let's go with Hopkins first. Now, Hopkins is tall and long. He's a boxer. He's going to use his jab, and he's fighting a southpaw in Arnautis. Now, Arnautis has a habit, not a good one. He bounces up and down right in front. That's where Hopkins takes advantage. Use that jab, steady him, keep him in control, and then look for that right hand when he sees the bounce. Bang! Goal! A win. How does Arnautis come up with a free kick? A yellow card inside the box. Oh, he's fighting against Hopkins, who's set, who's taller, and he's going to try to control range a little bit. Arnautis, the southpaw, move a little bit. Move to the side a little bit, bang, bang, pot shot, bang, bang. If he does that, well, no penalty kicks, just a nice win.
Those World Cup referees would have been pulling red cards all over you if you were ever a soccer player. You would have had more red cards than any player in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I would have been red.
You would have been red all day long.
And I'm a little red right now.
Let's look at the ring experience brought to you by Cerveza Tecate. Comparable careers for both guys, and thus the crossroads that they find themselves at. Trying to contend at 147 pounds. Says that's where the money is at 147. Obviously, 140 is a very deep division.
You receive your instructions in the dressing room. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Touch him up and go back to your corner.
Wayne Hedgepeth, the referee, scheduled for 10.
You know, Joe, when I look at these two guys, they look a little light in the backside for me to be welterweights. To me, they're junior welterweights. I mean,
we felt that way when we saw Arnautis against Rodriguez.
Yeah.
That he just didn't feel like a welterweight.
But they welters or junior welters or whatever, but they are careful guys, boxers. I mean, Arnautis might feel the pressure being a shorter guy to come forward, but he'll inch his way in. He won't come in with any great big strides. He'll try to gradually come in, and it'll only be in spots, because he'll go in one step, and then don't be surprised if he goes back 2 steps, as he just does. Looking for counters, looking for a new way to get in. But he might have to pressure the burden on his shoulders to be aggressive, to the point that either one of these fighters could ever be aggressive, because it's not their temperament. Their temperament is to box, to counterpunch.
Demetrius spent a lot of time talking about that temperament and that style, and recognizing the fact that maybe that's one of the things he's learned about the business of boxing, but it's hard to change at a certain stage of your career. You are what you are.
Right now, Hopkins showing that temperament, standing on the outside, using the jab just a little bit, stepping back, trying to get Arnautis maybe to reach a little bit. Hopkins looking for that right hand against the southpaw. There will be blood.
We saw it last time with Mike.
Yeah, I don't mean that it'll be an aggressive fight. I've already established that and what I feel about that. And I don't mean the movie that did pretty good in the theaters with Daniel Day-Lewis. But I'm talking about, believe it or not, for guys that box, they've been involved in a lot of head clashes throughout their career. Hopkins was cut over his left eye in his last fight. And Arnautis, well, he has scar tissue over his right eye. He's been cut there many times. As a matter of fact, Arnautis was cut over his left eye in his last fight. And he's been cut in his last 2 fights, Arnautis. And maybe that would be, even though we don't wish it on anybody, maybe if somebody sees red, be a little bit like the bull going after the matador. Inspire them to get a little more aggressive, to try to take advantage of an opportunity. That's the benefit of being tall and long.
That jab right there.
Yeah, when you use it, and Hopkins used it there. Control that range a little bit, keep the shorter man out in front of you at the end of the jab, where you can extend the right hand at the right time.
Hopkins trying to control this first round with that jab. End of 1. There's one of the best champs in the business right now. Timothy Bradley comes from not far away, just about 70 miles down the road. Down the 10 from here in Ontario. He's got a July 17th date with Carlos Abregu. Bradley's had himself a sensational career as he's developed through the years. Round number 2 of our main event, Mighty Mike Arnautis and Demetrius Hopkins.
You know, I don't normally recognize the WBO title. I just don't, because I think we have too many titles and too many fraudulent organizations as it is, so I try to eliminate at least one. But Bradley is one who makes that one that you recognize him as a champion, not the organization.
Yeah,
but
I completely agree with you.
Because Bradley is a champion person outside the ring, and inside the ring, I think he's one of the best pound for pound. And I'll put his name right out there, pound for pound. One of the best in the business. Fights inside, outside, always in great shape, great heart, great skill sets, great technique. Terrific fighter.
You know, to that point, Teddy, you bring up a good point. Do you really recognize any of them in this way? You know who the real fighters are. You know who the guy who you could call a champion is, regardless if there's a belt on the line or not. And the reverse is true, too. There's guys that have belts, that have IBF or WBA or BC belts, that you don't recognize as the guy.
I agree. The people are the ones that need to recognize who the champions are and know who the champions are and have the voice and have the power.
He's one of them, though.
Yeah, he is. And right now, Arnautis is trying to be something that he's not capable of being, an aggressive fighter. He's trying in spots, but again, not in his heart and soul to really be that. He's a guy that likes to pick spots, counter a little bit, go in and out a little bit, and he's being forced, for the most part, to go in a lot. And he's having trouble because Hopkins knows how to fight tall.
There's already redness and abrasion that has started on top of the brow, the inside corner of the left eye of Mike Arnautis. You said expect blood. We may see it in moments.
I think what maybe the best shot for Arnautis is to use that jab to the body. He does that pretty well. The right jab is the southpaw that Arnautis is. Use that southpaw jab to the body and try to stabilize Hopkins. Find something. You know, you're not going to hit him with the jab to the head a real lot. He's pretty slick. Jab to the body, stabilize him a little bit, maybe get him to stand up a little bit, and then come up top with the left hand. That might be the best spot for a power punch for Arnautis.
Demetrius tries his foot to guard with the right hand, then places a left hand to the body. Let's talk about the next couple weeks on Friday Night Fights. We're going to be in Rhode Island next week. Hake Lundy's a very good-looking unbeaten prospect. That's a 10 o'clock start time against John Molina. And then 2 weeks from now, July 16th, Zab Judah, Jose Armando Santa Cruz from Newark. July 16th, 9 Eastern, Zab Judah on Friday Night Fights. Round 3 of our main event. Mighty Mike and Demetrius Hopkins. Both men trying to have a more aggressive disposition. That was the goal coming into tonight. Doubling up that jab is Hopkins, shooting it out there. Taking advantage of that throughout the early goings tonight.
Little problem with the timekeeper here in this last round, Joe. They started this round early, only gave the fighters about 45, 50 seconds rest instead of a minute rest. Started the round early and then had to separate them and actually restart the round. So a little confusion.
Well, we've seen more egregious errors than that with timekeepers. I believe there was a time in Montreal where we had a timekeeper who forgot to ring the bell for 2 minutes and 45 seconds past the 3-minute mark. Yeah. We almost had a 6-minute round once.
And that's an important part of your job if you're a timekeeper. It is. I mean, it actually is one of the more important things to do if you're a timekeeper. Ring the bell.
Thought the fighters were going to require oxygen during the middle of the round that time.
I remember one time over in England, I was over there and Barry McGuigan was fighting. He was featherweight champion of the world, and I worked a little bit with him coming up. Mickey Duff was the promoter, the great promoter over there, along with manager Barney Eastwood, and they controlled things over in England, had a lot of power over there. And we're in the middle of the fight. The place is packed. I think it was in King's Hall, which has a lot of history. Place is packed. And McGuigan was becoming a star over there. And he's fighting, and he was in there with a dangerous fighter. I think it might have been Juan Laporte from New York, who was a former featherweight champion. McGuigan's ahead. It's the last round, and they just want to get that round over with because there's only chances for Laporte to land one of those big right hands. He was getting a little closer, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, Mickey Duff reaches over to the timekeeper, tells him, ring the bell.
Just ring the bell. We need the bell to be over.
Yeah, it's ring the bell. It's on ABC. Ring the bell. And he says, I can't, Mickey, what are you talking about? I'm standing right there. Mickey, what are you talking about? I can't ring the bell. The round's not on. I said ring the bell. You know, with that English accent. Ring the bell. Ring it. I can't.
It's not over. Well, then I will. And he reached over, and sure enough, he rang the bell.
Yeah. So it's not vague like the World Cup where they're looking over at the referee with the injury time saying, is the match over? Is it not over? Is it over? It could be over. I don't know if it's over.
Exactly. And that story was the best part of this round.
Let's check in with Kevin.
All right, Joe, well, in case you missed it, last weekend in San Antonio, a real major step forward in the career of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. His first fight under the guidance of Freddie Roach. It came against the game John Duddy. Chavez was well-conditioned. He was sharp, active. He was effectively aggressive in the 4th round. Was rocked in the 6th by Duddy, but delivered a brutal beating in the 9th and 11th rounds en route to a unanimous decision victory. It was the first time Chavez was pushed to 12 rounds in his career. Time now to Keep Your Edge, brought to you by Just for Men, Mustache and Beard. Keep your edge. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. remains undefeated, just like his dad was through 43 pro bouts. Also like his father at this stage, Chavez has yet to win any major belts, but the elder Chavez won the WBC super featherweight title with a knockout of Mario Martinez in his 44th bout. We'll see what the future holds in store for JC Jr. Back to Joe and Teddy, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Enjoying things here in Ontario, California, round 4, our main event.
If you needed a scouting report for these two before the fight started, they do have 2 mutual opponents. One of them was Jesse Feliciano, and Hopkins won a 10-round decision, also knocked out Feliciano in 4. Arnautis won by KO in the 1st round over Feliciano. Of course, they both fought against Kendall Holt, both losing 12-round decisions, but the advantage to Hopkins because his fight was closer. He fought Holt a split decision.
Seeing more bursts of aggression than we've seen in the past from Mike Arnautis as Hopkins tries to keep him at bay, utilizing the boxing and the jab. Of course, a reminder that the 2010 FIFA World Cup will continue tomorrow on ABC. This is going to be a good day of action, starting with what I think is going to be a classic. Argentina and Germany coverage will begin at 9:30 a.m. And then Paraguay and Spain. Spain, one of the real hot teams coming in. Many think a team capable roster-wise of winning it all. That's at 2 Eastern, both on ABC.
Talking about classics, it was a classic move a minute ago by the taller, longer Hopkins. He threw a jab in the right hand, did it classically. He didn't reach in with the right hand, didn't fall in, he just pivoted, kept his distance, then stepped out. He landed, and then Arnautis threw, but because Hopkins stepped out, did not fall in, Arnautis reached, and then Hopkins had another chance to score on the back end. One thing I'm noticing here, Joe, besides Hopkins being taller and fighting tall and trying to keep Arnautis on the outside, make him pay for real estate a little bit, I've noticed that Arnautis has to work a lot harder physically to get things done than Hopkins. You know, he's got to throw more punches, he's got to do that, he's got to come forward. He's got to throw 3, 4, 5 punches to get something done. And Hopkins, with his reach advantage, doesn't have to do as much. Just control range a little bit. Take a little step out. Pot shot with the right hand. Use the jab. The pressure, the physical pressure is on Arnautis to stay in this fight. He just has to run that motor a lot faster than Hopkins does. So down the road, down the stretch, the physical advantage might be there for Hopkins. He might have a little bit more petrol in the gas tank. You notice
See, they just winced there. Mighty Mike threw that right hand.
So he hurt it.
We'll check in on that when we return. End of 4.
Let your hands go when you get inside.
Bill Johnson in the corner of Mike Arnautis. As much work as Arnautis has to do, as you detailed, Teddy, to stay in this fight with Hopkins. Johnson, the father of the late 135-pound champion Levander Johnson, says, I need a little more.
Well, you know, I agree with him. I was listening to Phil Johnson. And, of course, we think about his late son, as you just mentioned, Levander Johnson, who passed away, who was a
horrible tragedy.
Former lightweight champion. We think about him.
Our players are with him. But I was listening to Bill Johnson, and I agree with him 1,000%. He was telling him the right advice. He was telling Arnautis something that I was noticing, that you get inside, you work to the body a little bit, then you go outside again. You do all the work to get inside, and you don't stay there. And you don't make the most of it. And if you don't do that with this taller man, you're going to lose. I added that part. He didn't say all that, but he talked about getting in and staying there.
Let's look at the CompuBox statistics compiled so far. The total punch numbers. See Hopkins landing 63, 22 advantage over Arnautis.
See, that's one of the advantages of fighting tall with a shorter guy. The shorter guy comes in, you fight tall, you stay on the outside, you set yourself, you draw that line in the sand or in the canvas, like Hopkins did, and you can nail the guy coming in, time him coming in, use his aggression against him.
Good sustained work by Hopkins. Arnautis came back with a combination, fell just a little short with that left hand. Now more of the jab, trying to set up that right hand is Hopkins.
Maybe that's a preview of Mayweather and Pacquiao ever do fight. That's a little bit of a preview, and of course Hopkins would be the Mayweather to Arnautis version of Pacquiao, where Mayweather, I think, could stay on the outside a little bit and take advantage of the aggression of Pacquiao, maybe the reckless aggression. Nail him, let him do the work, and catch him coming in.
Big targeted left hand from Arnautis.
And again, Arnautis in spots gets in, but then goes back out. And what a good trainer would say, and what Bill Johnson said, is if you work to get in with a taller guy and you get through all the danger, like right there, he goes through all the danger to get inside, and you get there, stay there, and do more. Both guys are coming very close to those head clashes that I talked about that has been prevalent in their careers.
I don't know how in that last exchange there wasn't a bad clash of heads. It was so close. Good active fifth round here, the halfway point of our main event. Stay with us, more to come.
You know, I think Hopkins would be a good weight, and not that he wants to be, but he's setting the tables all night long with the jab, and then he's eating with that punch, the right hand. Nothing else. All night long, that's enough to have Hopkins winning this fight.
Let's quantify it for you. CompuBox has him with a 47 of 230 count on the jabs for Demetrius Hopkins. Hopkins a year and a half removed from the lone loss of his career.
He said early on, as these fighters were getting instructions to start this bout, that the pressure, the weight would be on the shoulders of Arnautis to be aggressive. Neither fighter are aggressive fighters, but he would be the one most inclined to come forward if he's going to win this fight. And he's trying, but again, not quite enough, not staying there when he gets there.
Teddy's scorecard through 5 rounds. Even 5th round, but Hopkins banked so much utilizing that jab early on, says Teddy, 50-46. There it is, doubling up the jab, coming with the right hand.
And Arnautis does a pretty good job of blocking shots, technically sound, keeps his hands up good. Both fighters good technically and pay attention to defense.
You know what, Teddy? Both fighters more entertaining versions than we've seen in the past, what we're seeing out of them tonight.
I agree, a little bit more entertaining than usual. You can just see Mike Arnautis has to force himself. It's like pulling teeth in a dentist chair. I mean, he just has to force himself to be aggressive. And he's doing it in spots, but it's something that doesn't come to him naturally.
No, not at all. But he knows it's the only way.
And you see him using his legs, what we talked about in the fight plan a little bit, moving side to side, trying to get an angle, trying to get an opportunity to score, to get Hopkins a little off balance, not to come in the front door all the time. Hopkins slowing down a little bit, allowing Arnautis to have a little better round. Not scoring a lot, Arnautis, but just being busier. Hopkins, for the most part, uses the jab, looks for the straight right hand, but this round, he looked for a little something else, a little change in his repertoire. He was looking for that right uppercut a little bit.
Hopkins and Arnautis taking it to the bell here. Round number 6.
Arnautis makes peanut butter sandwiches without the jelly. There's the peanut butter. He gets inside, but he goes out again. And here comes the peanut butter again. He gets inside, but no jelly. He doesn't punch. You gotta make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Arnautis. Otherwise, you're not gonna win this fight.
Demetrius Hopkins so far controlling things in what is such a critical fight for both men, a crossroads fight.
Keep him up, Mike. Keep him up.
Mike Arnautis got an earful from his trainer Bill Johnson after that last round. He said, all that stuff you tell the broadcasters, you have to make people believe it now. You spar better than the way you're fighting. Stop following him. Throw punches in bunches.
Put the jelly with the peanut butter. I'm not even talking about the glass of milk. We're not even going that far.
Watch your footies, gentlemen. Watch your footies.
Here's where they want to see more work. It's just following him around.
Yeah, one of the things that Bill Johnson was also upset about in Arnautis' corners, you're going to be aggressive against the guy. Not only when you get inside should you work and stay there, but you should cut the ring down because Hopkins using the ring a little bit. Don't follow him.
Let him out, let him out. Break.
See, there's a smart move by the taller Hopkins. Looks like nothing, but it reminds me of Muhammad Ali with Joe Frazier. He takes his hand on the back of the head of the short Arnautis and he pushes him down, gets more balance, doesn't let him work inside where he has an advantage on the inside with the shorter arms, and he makes the referee break him. Hopkins not with a big arsenal of punches, mostly jab right hand, but has shown the uppercut in spots. The uppercut, a good punch, usually for a taller man fighting a short guy coming at you. Ask George Foreman. Used it pretty good against the shorter Joe Frazier.
Yeah, lifted him off the ground in Kingston, Jamaica.
And lifted the crown and the belt right from him. It wouldn't be the same as Osel's famous call, but down goes Arnautis. You never know if you see that uppercut.
Hopkins coasting along. Arnautis tried to catch him as he came in that time. Coming to the end of round number 7, an opportunity for us to check in with the studio and Kevin Connors.
All right, Joe, we turn our attention to other boxing news. Since December of 1999, Manny Pacquiao has just one loss. Came at the hands of Eric Morales, a defeat Pacquiao avenged twice. Pacquiao was also defeated in 2007 in his run for the House of Representatives in his native Philippines. But Pacquiao avenged that defeat as well. And Tuesday in Manila, the 31-year-old took his oath as a Philippine congressman. Widespread poverty is one of the major issues gripping the province Pacquiao will govern. And while many want a November fight with Floyd Mayweather, it's important to note Congress convenes in the Philippines in July.
I am Emmanuel Capidran Pacquiao, your fellow Sarangan, your congressman. I now officially welcome you to the new chapter of our history. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat.
So moving forward, he will be known as Congressman Manny Pacquiao. Joe, a new title for a man who already has many.
Including pound-for-pound elite. And many are hoping that in November, the only thing we're hearing about Manny Pacquiao is that of a fight with Floyd Mayweather. Hopkins being much more the aggressor here at the start of round number 8. Stepping forward, utilizing that jab. Now comes with the right hand.
Coming into this fight, Arnautis had lost 3 of his last 4, so he had to not only battle against a taller guy, but against a little bit of the mental cobwebs that come with losing 3 of your last 4. The confidence that could be a little shaken. So far in the career of Arnautis, so he just hasn't been able to win at the B+ level. I mean, that's where he has fallen just a little short. And so far tonight, maybe the case.
Against the likes of Ricardo Torres and Kendall Holt and Delvin Rodriguez. Did have that draw early on in his career against Juan Urango when both were on the rise. That was all the way back in 2004, though. Not a fully matured Juan Urango, the version that would go on to claim a belt.
Both of these fighters, good amateurs. Hopkins a little bit better, maybe, and a little bit more experience. Hopkins 135 amateur fights, and Arnautis 110.
Arnautis, who grew up in Greece before coming to this country 10 years ago.
Hopkins has come off the floor to win, so he's shown heart. And he has beaten several southpaws in his career, so he wasn't in a negative frame of mind going in there with a lefty. He felt that, hey, I can beat lefties. I've beaten them before. I'll beat him again.
That's straight low, that left hand.
Get a lot of extra motion by Arnautis, as I said earlier. A lot of wasted motion. A lot of extra work for Arnautis. Not effective work, just wasted energy.
He's going to have 6 minutes to somehow find an answer. The punch of the night is brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color, and it's bonus coverage of Friday Night Fights. This was before we went on the air. Michael Finney, who's a nice-looking little prospect here at 4-0. He's a 144-pounder. KO John Dunham in the first round with that right hand. There are a lot of folks gathered ringside to see Finney come out about 2 hours before we went on the air, and he gets the Just for Men Hair Color punch of the night. He's 4-0 with 4 knockouts, and Mike Arnautis could use some instant offense like that of Michael Finney here in round number 9 against Demetrius Hopkins.
And of course, for full disclosure, we should say that that man that he knocked out, his record was 1-6-2.
That's why he was fighting a 3-0 Michael Finney, set up to look real good, right?
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why he was able to capture the very coveted fight of the night, or punch of the night. Excuse me.
Let's show you how this fight has been trending as Arnautis tries to step up the aggression here. Hopkins jabs per round 43. Arnautis total punches per round 34. So having a sense of identity, using the jab, trying to control the fight with that advantage is Hopkins.
Arnautis is like a bunny rabbit. The only problem, he jumps in a hole and then he jumps back out. When he gets in that hole, when he gets inside, in close to the taller Hopkins, he needs to stay there.
There's his left hand from Arnautis. Hopkins comes right back.
I think the trainer of Arnautis, Bill Johnson, wants to see the left hand and the right hand. He wants to see combinations land at this point, not single shots.
Looks like some blood coming from the nose of Arnautis. He slipped as he went back. He placed his back foot out on the apron, and it gave way.
See, smart move by the experienced Hopkins. He goes to a neutral corner. You know why? Maybe he can suggest a little bit and maybe trick, maybe lead the referee into thinking it was a punch, it was a knockdown. So he goes over like a guy who scores the knockdown would go to the neutral corner just to see if he could maybe buy something from the ref. Didn't get it. No sales today.
Arnautis just missed with that left hand. Hopkins now coming forward, trying to cut off Arnautis.
Wouldn't be a bad idea now for Hopkins to go to the body, take some air out of those radials. Arnautis using his legs to survive a little bit, to try to find offense. Take some air out of those legs.
1 round to go between these veterans. Stay with us.
The power of suggestion. Good left hand to the body, and then he misses the right hand there. But you see that Hopkins walks over to the corner like it's a knockdown, hoping that maybe he could convince the referee. But the referee already made up his mind that no, he's not a knockdown. But Hopkins did land a good left hand to the body.
10th and final round. And remember everything that was said coming into this fight by both men, knowing how important this fight was, the urgency of where their careers were. Moving up to 147 pounds, looking to get back in the mix, thinking that hope is still alive to all their dreams to go after a title. Hopkins now on Teddy's scorecard, 89-83. So according to Teddy, it is desperation time from Arnautis, and you get the sense that his corner would be in agreement with that based on the information they've been feeding him.
I don't know why, but I feel like we're doing an EA video game right now. EA Sports video game.
It's probably because we've been doing it about 40 hours a week for the past week.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Let's go, Let's body again. Body again. Body.
There's 2 ways to get in with a taller guy. One way is the conventional way of Arnautis. Use the jab, bring your legs, move your head, and get the heck in there. The other way, a little bit more complex, step back a little bit and get the taller man to come in. Get him to bite, set a trap, get him to give up his height, come into you and become short, and then you counter him. I think Arnautis needs one of those ways, and he needs them quickly. See the bouncing up and down on Arnautis we talked about in the fight plan? He bounces up and down right in front of you. And when he's bouncing like that, it's a good opportunity for Hopkins to shoot at him. Because he's not set. There's the bouncing again. When he's bouncing, just like he did again 1 moment ago, he's not set to defend. He's not set to punch. If you're Hopkins, fire away. There's that bouncing right now, right there. Bouncing in front. That's not going to get him in. That's not going to help him right now behind in his fight. He needs to stop bouncing. He needs to start moving forward and punching.
Just never went after it here in this 10th round.
No, Joe, you're so right. He didn't go after it. Not like a guy that has at a point where his career is right in the balance in this fight, and he's behind, and he's not acting the way you would expect to see him act.
Hopkins took what was given to him throughout the night. And in moments, he's likely going to take a unanimous decision victory. ESPN Friday Night Fights presented by Cerveza Tecate con Carácter and in part by Mobil 1, the world's leading synthetic motor oil brand. Step up to Mobil 1 at your next oil change. We are here on Ontario, California. Good night of action. Teddy's scorecard with a heavy lean towards Hopkins, 99-92. Let's send it up to the ring to Thomas Treiber.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. And both judges, Tom Taylor and Dr. James Jenkin, are in agreement, scoring it exactly the same, 99-91. And Judge Alejandro Roshin scores it 100-90, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. And still WBC, USNBC welterweight champion, Demetrius, the Gladiator Hopkins.
So Demetrius Hopkins with unanimous decision. One judge had it a complete shutout. 30th win of his career. He wanted to be a little more aggressive tonight, to be smart, and most importantly, to grab a win. Mike Arnautis tried as he could, but it just wasn't there for Arnautis, the 6th loss of his career, and once again stepping up to that next level and unable to secure a win. We will see Hopkins down the road. Who knows what will be the future of Mike Arnautis. Next week, Friday Night Fights is going to be in Rhode Island to see a fine-looking prospect in Hank Lundy against John Molina. In 2 weeks, it is Zab Judah on Friday Night Fights. World Cup Lives coming up next for Kevin Connors and Teddy Atlas. I'm Joe Tessitore. Enjoy your night.